Hi everyone, let me know how today's paper went. I want to know everything about it. How did it go? How did you feel? Yeah, I heard there was only 17 questions, or at least I think higher tier was speaking, but that's really intense. Normally it's probably at least, I think maybe the non-calculator has fewer questions, but it's normally still 20 or so, isn't it? Maybe 22. Yeah, I was surprised to see that. Maybe that, yeah, it was just bigger questions then, each one, which is, I guess, harder, isn't it? Yeah, I would have said 22, yeah. Oh, yeah, highest common factor always comes up, doesn't it? Some version of that. Yeah. Seven 5 markers. Six markers. Wow. That's actually insane. AQA. Yeah, I personally I don't particularly love AQA generally. I find that, I mean, this is a personal thing. I'm not saying generally that this is reality, but I find AQA is a bit harder to I just find it harder to understand the questions. That's just me though, because I'm more used to Edexcel. But I think you've still got 2/3 left, haven't you? You've still got two more papers, so I think, yeah, anything's still possible, 100%. Because hopefully, let's say if paper one, AQA, let's say if that one was like a really bad paper generally, hopefully then paper two or paper three will kind of balance it out. Yeah, AQA was confusing, yeah. Yeah, I find the way they word it quite hard. I think for AQA, you have to practice so many of the AQA past papers just to get used to the wording of what they're asking. Yeah, lots of 5 markers. Oh, vectors didn't come up. Well, yeah, maybe that means it will come up later on. Who knows? Yep, highest common factor question one. Perfect. That's what we want. Oh, you finished early. Wow. Oh, you think AQA is generally easier? Interesting. I wouldn't have said that. Maybe the maths is easier, but I find the wording is harder, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Yeah, definitely go back and check you haven't missed out a page or something. You don't want to do that. Yeah, yeah, I'm surprised there was only 17 questions as well. That's very unusual. I don't do videos on AQA, unfortunately, because it's not really my speciality, if that makes sense. Like, I don't feel kind of that I could explain it as well. But I'm sure there's loads of creators on here that do specialize in AQA, you know, that could actually kind of explain it properly to you. 65 out of 80 is really good. That's really good. Is that on track for a 9? Let's have a look at the grade boundaries. This is the grade boundaries for, like, you know, just average. So obviously this varies, right? This blue bit here is the average, okay? So what did you say, 65? Okay, on average, I've got here that a 65 out of 80 is on average a grade 9. Now, obviously, that means some years were higher than 65, some years were lower than 65. It also obviously means you have to get 65 on the other two papers as well, for example. So you can see that I think in 2023 June, that grade boundaries are a lot higher. You can see on average it's 82%, but here it was 85. So when's that, 2 years ago, that was a bit higher. But then the year before was almost 10 marks lower. So it obviously does vary, right? But yeah, I think you're on track for a 9 for sure. I think that's fair. It'll be definitely an 8 or a 9. I don't know which, because obviously I don't know what the grade boundaries will be for this year, but it's on track for a 9. If you can get maybe a few more marks than the other ones, it might be kind of more of a solid 9. But I would say, yeah, it's on track for a 9 for sure. You finished in 40 minutes. Wow. Yeah, you all finished early. Wow. Oh, you hated it. Every single moment. Fair enough. Can't blame you. That was me with my English GCSE. It was horrific. Okay, so that was an interquartile range question. Oh, there was no exact trig values, really? That's surprising. Polygons. Okay, yeah, a lot of long questions, but maybe not really hard questions. That's good. Oh, the best paper one you've ever done. Wow. Okay, if you get 30 on paper 1, is it still possible to get above a 7? Let me have a look again, shall I? I'm just gonna bring it over here so I can see it. So let's say you want to get a 7. Okay, on average, a 7 is 133 out of 240, right? It's out of 240, all 3 papers. Okay, that's on average. Obviously, it could be a bit higher than that. So maybe let's go with 140, not 133, just to be safe. 140 minus 30 is 110, divided by 2. You'd probably have to get 55 marks on both of the next 2 papers, which is still not, like, it's high, but it's still not crazy, is it? You still lose 25 marks. So maybe if you could get 55 to 60 marks on the next 2 papers, you might still get a 7, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad yesterday helped. Oh, you didn't have any vectors. Yeah, but I don't know if that's good or bad, because maybe that means vectors will come up at another point. I mean, who knows? It could come up in paper 2, couldn't it? Polygon question again, yeah. You think the paper was rigged? Okay. Just trying to catch up with all the comments. (31 out of 80). I mean, 31. That's still more than, I would say, probably definitely a 5. Still a solid pass, maybe close to a 6. So how much you need in each to get a 5 to a 6? 5 to a 6. Between, I would say, 25 to 35 marks. Let's say if you want to be safe, between, just round it up a bit if you want to be safe, so maybe between 30 and 40 marks. So somewhere, I mean, if you can get close to 50%, I'd say that's definitely a 5, definitely a 6 even. Just depends on the grade boundaries every year, doesn't it? I mean, it will change, obviously, but I've just got the average here. I'm hoping that I can find the paper online, so that at least for when I create my predicted paper 2, I can see what you've already done, and therefore maybe what might not come up again. So hopefully I'll find that at some point. Someone will leak it, I'm hoping. Yeah, maybe for paper 2 and paper 3 they might therefore put more questions. I don't know. I mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe 25 questions. I don't know. Edexcel doesn't tend to do loads of questions. I know AQA tends to be about 29 to 30 questions, and Edexcel is normally closer to 25, 22 to 23 or something like that. So yeah, maybe they'll move it to 25 or so. That's quite a lot for Edexcel. If you feel like you did bad on paper 1, you've still got 2/3 of the marks left to get, right? So I really wouldn't stress about it. Just obviously try and see where you feel like you went wrong today and see where you can improve for next time. Because you've still got time, still got loads of time between now and paper 2. Yeah. Yeah, to get a 5, roughly 25 on all 3 papers. So that's like 75 out of 240. Or let's round it to 80 to be safe. I haven't seen the paper, so I don't know the last question, no. I've not seen the paper, obviously. I'm not a teacher, so I haven't got access to it. But hopefully someone will upload it. My live streams will continue to be the same as before. Obviously, before we were doing paper 1, weren't we? So now we won't be doing paper 1. We'll be doing paper 2 and 3. I'm going to mix up paper 2 and 3 just because obviously it's not really like I've been through all the paper 2s and 3s yesterday and the day before, and obviously all the topics are kind of mixed. Like I can't really 100% tell you this topic will be paper 2, this topic will be paper 3 because they're both calculator. So what we'll be doing, I can get the great boundaries, yeah. What we'll be doing is I'll just do like a paper 2 and then the next live stream will be the paper 3 for that year and then back to paper 2 for another year. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know how they're going to split the topics. So we'll just have to look at all of it. So that's what we'll be doing. But it'll be, if you want the past paper live streams, it'll be the same Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 o'clock. And I'll still kind of throw in a few Q&As as well in there as well, additionally. Okay, so if you have specific past paper questions, we can look at one of those in a Q&A. These are the grey boundaries. It does scroll down, but yeah, the average is this blue bit. This is like an average, right? So what I would do is I would take these and just maybe add 5 marks onto each, just to be safe. Add 5 or 6 marks onto each, just to round it up a bit, and then you know that you'll be safe. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously the average accounts for some are lower, some are higher. So yeah. Have a look at that. This is for Edexcel, obviously. This I don't know about AQA or something else, but all of this information is online, right? Just Google it. I've obviously just made my own spreadsheet. You can see foundation here, higher, there. Obviously, the total marks is all 3 papers, right? So it's out of 240. Okay, hang on. Let me have a look at the comments. How many past papers should you do a week? Do you know what's really hard, I think, about GCSE is not necessarily the level of GCSE. It's more the fact that you might have so many so many subjects and so many exams. I think it's quite hard to kind of figure out how you're going to split your time. So it's up to you. I know maths is probably one of the more important topics, but you might also still want to spend time on other topics. So it honestly depends on how much time you have. Do you know what I mean? Like, how many subjects are you doing? How much time do you feel like you want to assign to each of, like, English, other subjects as well? As many past papers as you can physically do is great, but you know, I do realize you don't necessarily have loads of time, so you just split it up between maths and then obviously other subjects. Maybe if you could do 2 a week. I don't know if that's asking too much, because what I would say, let me try and fit this to the screen a bit better. What I would say is I want you to obviously do the past paper, but I also would love for you to be able to actually mark it as well. Spend the time marking it, because that's as important, I would suggest. Just trying to move it so you see the whole thing. There we go, that's a bit better. Yeah, I'd rather you'd also spend the time to mark your work and spend time looking at the mark scheme and saying, right, where did I get the mark? Where did I not get the mark? Because I think that's also as valuable as doing the past paper itself. So ideally don't get someone else to mark it, or just obviously don't just leave it. Get that feedback yourself. I would like you to be able to kind of become familiar also with the mark scheme, because when I look at questions myself, I look at it and go, okay, maybe I don't know what to do, but it's this many marks, so that means my method might be this long, you know, maybe it's 3 marks, that means probably roughly 2 or 3 steps and then an answer. Then I also know, I kind of look at how much space there is, how much space have they given me to do the working. That kind of gives me an idea as to how much working out I need to do, and therefore maybe how hard the question is. But also I can look at it and go, yeah, I know from the mark scheme that they're probably going to give me a mark for writing this thing, and probably going to give me another mark for writing this other thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's going to be really helpful as well. AQA higher went badly. Yeah, I think a lot of people saying AQA, they didn't love it. Loci and construction. I wasn't going to do a stream tonight because I felt like you've just basically done your maths exam, so I didn't think you'd really want to do another one today. Like, I didn't think you'd want to start studying for the next one tonight, so I wasn't planning on doing another one tonight, no. Let's see. You've got functions in the last question. Yeah, functions is quite common at the end. Guaranteed 33 marks. Well, if you're guaranteed 33 marks, then that's the worst case scenario. Hopefully it can only go up from there. Yeah, I think if you've written down just random things, I mean, not literally random things, but as long as you've written something down, even if you didn't think it was correct, there's definitely chances of getting marks in that, like within there, for sure. Let's see. Just trying to scroll through the questions again. The square difference is a multiple of 4. What is that, like an algebraic proof one, I guess? Yeah, to get an 8 you need about 60. Yeah, if you round it to 60 then you'll be safe. That's 3/4. It's not... You can still lose 20 marks on each paper. It's not too insane, is it? Yeah, everyone's saying about the 17 questions. Yeah, that's really strange. Yeah, I also dropped English as soon as I could. Definitely. Never carried that on. Okay. 79 out of 80 worst case. Well, there's not really much other case from there, is there, apart from 80? So that's really good. Proof question, yeah. We like an algebraic proof question if you know the structure of it. Oh, you didn't finish in time. Oh no. That's really frustrating. Yeah, even if you don't finish, if you've written something, there's still a chance of getting method marks for sure. So it's definitely worth writing down anything for every single question, even if you've got no idea. Just write something, because they're not going to be judging you. Like, whoever's marking it doesn't know you, like, they can't see your name, they don't know who you are. So you might as well just write the most random stuff you can think of. If, like, let's say if you didn't know what to do, rather than leaving it blank. I would rather you just started anything. Obviously, look at the question, see if you can tell kind of what topic it's roughly relating to, and then just write anything you can, because you just don't know where those method marks are going to come from. Even if you didn't understand what you wrote down, they don't know that, do they? They're just going to mark, if they see the correct kind of statement, they'll mark it correct. AQA question 1 was quadratic simultaneous equations. Yeah, I'm surprised that was question 1. Is this AQA? The thing on the screen right now is Edexcel exam, but have I written that there? Oh, I haven't written it. I thought it was written down. Hang on. This is Edexcel. I don't know if AQA is similar or if it's different, but you can obviously look it up on, just Google it and you'll find it. Edexcel. Hang on, let me just... That's tiny, isn't it? There we go. This is for Edexcel, right? But you can find the information also online if you just Google it. AQA grade boundaries. You can find it for each year. Just obviously scroll down until it says maths. Then you'll be fine. Oh, I can't really predict it. I mean, if you found paper 1 easier, maybe paper 2's harder. I mean, maybe it's not. Also, maybe you'll just find, maybe it's just because you guys were like prepared for it and then you found it easy. It might not have been that the paper itself was easy. Maybe you just were really prepared for it. There's also that. I don't know what would happen with paper 2 and paper 3. I really am not sure. Okay. All your dreams and future is not ruined. I promise you that. I promise you. I think they just, I do think they make GCSEs feel like the be all and end all, and it's, I promise you it's not. Obviously we're looking to pass, right? Then you can move on to the next stage. Once you've moved on to whatever you're going to do after GCSE, I promise you'll forget all about it, genuinely. You've just done paper 1. If you felt like you rushed it, that's fine. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to get used to because this is, I'm assuming, you know, your first or second week of doing GCSEs. It takes a bit of time to get used to just the environment, the fact that it's the real thing, all the pressure and all that. So I wouldn't worry. Just by the time you get to paper 2, hopefully you would have settled into the exams more generally, and just make sure that for next time you're just aware of that and go, do you know what, this time I'm not going to rush through it. I'm going to stay calm, you know, things like that. We just need to learn from whatever happened today. We'll just learn from it. And you've still got 2 other exams. So there's still so much left to get. I promise. Still so much time left. Not everything is ruined. I promise you that. Okay, I promise. Do you know what? You said that you think you wrote stuff down that was in the question. To be honest, that might still get you some marks. Sometimes it is like, that's what I'm saying, get familiar with the mark scheme, because you'd probably be surprised where you get the marks from. Sometimes it is for just repeating something that was in the question. So yeah, I mean, as long as you wrote something, I'm happy with that. That's what we want. We want you to write something. It's better than leaving anything blank. Even if you think it's wrong, write it down. Might as well. Because they're not negative marking. They're not going to look at it and go, well, that was wrong, so I'm going to take away a mark. Like, they're not going to do that. They just say, well, it wasn't what I needed, so I'm not going to mark it. Do you know what I mean? So you might as well just write anything you can think of. That's what I would say. Write down anything you can think of on those questions that you're not sure about, right? Obviously, the ones you know, do them properly. But the ones that you're not sure about, I really just want you to write down anything. Just practice that. Practice. I know it feels kind of, sometimes you feel like, no, but I don't want to write down something that's wrong, or I'm not really sure. Like, I'd just rather you left everything on that paper. Same with all the GCSEs, really. But for maths, I'd rather you just leave everything on that paper, even if you're not sure if it's right, because you can pick up so many extra marks from things that you might not even know were right. I'm going to do my best to predict paper 2, but I will have to see paper 1, obviously, first. So I'm hoping that it will get uploaded to YouTube or somewhere in the next 24 hours, and I can have a look at it. So I can do my best to predict paper 2. But again, I mean, I'm just predicting. It's not really... They could literally do anything. As you saw, they've done 17 questions. That was obviously not happened before, isn't it? That's not happened before. So honestly, who knows? But I'm going to do my best to create a predictive paper again for paper 2. And then hopefully for paper 3, if I can see paper 2, I can see just what's left, isn't it? Oh, I need to download Word, Office. They don't keep giving me these ads. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who uploads it. I just normally find that every year someone will kind of leak it on YouTube or somewhere, maybe on TikTok or something, and I'll just try and find it. Obviously, it's not meant to be uploaded, right? But because obviously the people that are in year 10 right now are going to do this paper for their mock in December. So it's not meant to be uploaded, but normally it's uploaded and then maybe for a day or 2 and then they'll take it down. So I'm just going to try and find it. Okay, simultaneous equations. Yeah, sometimes the questions are similar. That's why I also like to do past papers, because sometimes they are, kind of similar questions. I think the teachers get access to them. I mean, I'm not a teacher, right? So that's why I don't have a direct access. But I think teachers would get access to it afterwards. So you could probably ask your teacher. Yeah, I would imagine so. You might as well ask, see what they say. See what they say. You got 35 on this one. Okay, let's say that was a 6. Can you get a 7? If you could, I think if you want to get a 7, you'd have to improve for the next 2, but you're only one, like, it seems like you're 1 grade off, so it's not crazy, not too far off. But yeah, if you can, try and revise as much as you can in the next couple of weeks, isn't it? Just make the most of the next couple of weeks if you can. Just be strategic with your revision as well, with your practice and all that. What are the most common repeated questions, similar questions, things like that. What are the ones that are maybe always asked in the first few questions, the easier ones, because you can guarantee those marks, that type of thing. To get a 7, let's say you got 35. Okay, looking at these grade boundaries, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about Edexcel. If you're talking about Edexcel, these are the grade boundaries. If you're talking about another example, then it might be different, right? So we'd have to see. But you can look it up on the internet. You can look it up on Google. You'll find the grade boundaries for whatever exam you're doing. So if you want to get a 7, you need to get, let's round this up, right? That's 133. Let's round it up to like 140. You said you got 35. So 140 minus 35 leaves you with 105 divided up by 2. So I would say to get a 7, you probably need to get, I'm going to round it up again just to be really safe, maybe 55 on each paper next time, maybe. And this is if it's Edexcel, right? And higher tier. Yeah. Maybe 55 on each paper next time, which I guess if you got 35, that's quite a big jump. That's 20 extra ones on each. Yeah, you said that exactly, 52 to 55, yeah. Depends on the grade boundaries. It always depends on the grade boundaries, doesn't it, really? I don't know what those will be. So I think, okay, so for the next couple of weeks, because you've got a bit of a gap between this one and the next one, haven't you? What, more than 2 weeks? 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm going to be uploading, again, my speciality is Edexcel, right? So I will be uploading over the next few weeks videos that are what I think is the most common topics for calculator. Then I'll be doing the most common Edexcel questions. So the ones that I think are repeated the most, if I'm going to have a look and see if there are any if there's any pattern, you can have a look at those. So things that we know that are going to repeat themselves, things that I've seen on all the past papers that definitely come up. We want to make sure that you're happy with those. But just doing past papers generally, I'm going to be doing past paper lives. So you can join the lives or you can watch it. You can do the paper yourself and watch it later and see us talk through it. I think for maths, it's mostly practicing. Practice your past papers, mark them yourself so you can get your own feedback. But also, if you find from those past papers that there's a consistent topic or a few different topics that you always maybe get wrong, and it's not maybe one of the really hard ones, maybe something that you could fix quite easily, then revise that topic specifically, if that makes sense. But yeah, I guess also maybe you know what came up in paper 1. Obviously, some topics are repeated. For example, if you get probability in paper 1, you're obviously going to get it again. If you get ratio in paper 1, you're going to get ratio again. But there are some topics that are quite niche, aren't they? Quite specific topics that would probably only come up once. So those ones you could probably just go, do you know what, that's come up, so I'm not going to worry about that for the next paper, and just try and kind of be strategic in what you're revising, because I know the syllabus is huge. It's too much to try and look up the whole syllabus, isn't it? Yeah. Let's see what else. Yeah, sometimes there's what I like to call like a wild card question that's just like nothing like I've seen before and like really hard. With Edexcel, sometimes there's always one of those, isn't there? The paper one is, is it already uploaded? What, on YouTube or on TikTok or something? I'll have to look for it because so I can do my my research for my predicted paper. Let's see. Yeah, OCR is quite rare, I think. Because also, isn't OCR not, as in the first paper in OCR, isn't it not non-calculator? I had a student a couple of years ago who did OCR and their non-calculator paper was effectively the second paper. Oh, it's on TikTok. Okay. Perfect. I'll have to see if I can screenshot it. Is that the Edexcel higher one? Or is it a different one? Yeah. If you got 40, could you get a 7? Let's see. Okay, so on 40 seems to be a kind of solid 6, doesn't it? If you look at these numbers, it's kind of a solid 6. It's like right in the middle. So you're kind of halfway through a 6 if you think about it that way. So I guess you're not far off at all. So again, let's say you need to get 140 for a 7 overall, minus the 40. You need to get 50 in both of the next papers, or a little bit more if you can. I think that's doable. If you make some, figure out where you need to improve for the next couple of weeks, I think you can gain an extra 10 marks. Yeah, I think that's possible. It just depends what you do for the next few weeks, doesn't it? Yeah. OCR, the first paper is calculator, the second one is non-calculator, and then the third one is calculator again. Yeah, it's really odd. Don't know why they do it that way, but anyway. Also, I think OCR you have more marks, don't you? It's like you have like 100 marks instead of 80, but then you just get more marks for each question, basically. How do you prevent silly mistakes? Oh, it's so hard because you just have to practice. I'd say you have to practice checking your own work, if that makes sense, which is so boring. I know that's so boring. No one wants to go through the paper and double check, but if you have time at the end, just going back and double checking. Or if, when you finish a question, just have a little look and double check. Have I, not written down the wrong number, got mixed up, or have I, is my answer, does it kind of make sense? So sometimes you can tell if it's got like the context of a shape, you can sometimes tell if your answer makes sense or if it doesn't, things like that. It's annoying. It's quite hard to prevent silly mistakes, but it is just practicing, checking your work, practicing, just seeing if you think your answer makes logical sense, that type of thing. Does it match the topic? Does it match the format that they asked me to leave my answer in? Because if it doesn't, then maybe something's wrong. If they've said give your answer to 3 significant figures, but you don't have any decimals or whatever, you might go, hang on a minute, there's probably something wrong here, that type of thing. Yeah. For an 8, it looks like here, maybe round it again, just round all of these up just to be safe. Maybe, I would say probably 60 on each paper, just to be safe. 60 on each paper, so that's basically 3/4, isn't it? Yeah. Hang on, let me see if I can find this on TikTok because I need to screenshot it. Maths papers. Let me just have a look quickly. Oh yeah. Perfect. So let me just screenshot this, guys, and then I'll be back to reply to your comments. I just don't want it to get deleted before I've had a chance to look at it, Let's see. Okay. Yeah, there's always some kind of enlargement one, isn't there? Oh yeah, algebraic proof, always some kind of algebraic proof. Proportion, yeah. Oh, there was a tangent one. Okay, that's interesting. And then the area under the graph, yeah, that's interesting. That's normally paper 2. Okay, there was a recurring decimal one, yeah. Thought that might come up somehow. It looks different, but it came up somehow. Some kind of probability one. Oh, histograms came up. Okay, perfect. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Surds obviously came up. Functions obviously came up. That always comes up. Yeah, you're right. 17 questions. Okay, well, if histograms came up in paper 1, then I can pretty much guarantee that cumulative frequency will come up in either paper 2 or paper 3. Because cumulative frequency for Edexcel always comes up, like, pretty much always, okay? Pretty much always. Which is good, because I quite like cumulative frequency. Oh, standard form came up. That's normally on paper 2 or paper 3. Wow, okay, so that's already come up. That probably won't come up again. You've got some ratio. Oh, you've got a graph one. Write down the coordinates of the turning point. Nice. That was quite a nice one. What was that? That was question 3. Yeah, some kind of probability table. That's quite common, isn't it? And okay, a lot of that was, yeah, I think a lot of that I would have probably guessed. The histogram surprised me, but last year I think a histogram also came up on paper 1. I would have, like, that surprises me. Normally I think histograms should come up on paper 2 or paper 3. So we don't, what I would suggest, you probably don't need to revise histograms again then, because I think that's when I say a specific topic, quite a specific topic, so it probably won't come up twice. But there'd be no point in them asking you the same question twice, would there? Yeah, proportion always comes up on paper 1. The tangent of the graph, I guess they won't ask you that again. That's quite a specific question, isn't it? Doesn't look like there was any probability trees, but I don't know if they just laid it out differently. Because probability trees always comes up at some point. So, hang on, let me have a look at the comments. Okay, I've screenshotted it all, so I've got that. That's fine. Yeah, a lot of that, the topics were kind of consistent with what I've seen on Edexcel paper 1 before. Yeah, the recurring decimal one was quite brutal, actually. I mean, you know, it wasn't the normal 2 or 3 marker one, was it? It was more than that. Just more to do, isn't it? So that might have thrown you off a bit. It looks a bit different. Do I have AQA Foundation? I don't, but you can, if you just Google it, you'll find it. All of this information that I've put onto a spreadsheet, it is online. So, yeah, just have a look. I think it's probably split into different years, so you might have to look at all the, like, when I made this, I went through every single year that was available and I wrote it all down to find an average. So, if you didn't fully simplify the recurring debt, let me read the question, because sometimes it doesn't ask you to simplify it, so that would be fine. Sometimes if it does say to simplify it, then, oh yeah. So it says, work out the value of x, y, give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. If you didn't simplify it, but you got the equivalent fraction, so the same thing, but you just didn't simplify it, I would assume that you'd probably get 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 marks, because it would just be the final mark for the simplified version. But if you got the right equivalent one, then I would imagine that's fine. 5 or 6 on paper 1, do you think grade 8 is still achievable? I don't know, it depends. That do you want to say, let's say you got 30, so that would be 240 minus, oh wait, what was it? You want to get grade 8. So I'm going to round up to a 170, take away 30, divide by 2. You'd have to probably get 70 on both of the other papers, so look, it's not impossible, it just depends if you think you can kind of pull it back. That's, I don't know, that's up to you really, isn't it? Yeah. What do I think the grade boundaries are? I don't honestly know, because I've not really looked at, obviously I've got the grade boundaries here, but I've not really kind of correlated it with a paper. I've not really looked at a paper and then looked at the grade boundaries, if that makes sense. So I have no idea, but this is why I've got an average, so you know it's going to be roughly around this, maybe more, maybe less, but roughly around those points there, those boundaries, isn't it? I don't know what the average for a grade 7 would be this year, because they always change, don't they? That information isn't available. But let's say if you got 50 out of 80, you might be safe, maybe. Just depends. Oh, you thought you couldn't, you stopped simplifying because you thought you couldn't. Well, the answer that this person has written, because when I screenshotted it, they've written their answers. They got 5 over 33. So if that's what you got, then I would imagine that's the most simplified answer. But if you got something bigger than that, then I'm assuming it's not the most simplified answer. I don't know. You got 13 over 12 for the last question. Let me see what they got. I don't know. Yeah. The person that uploaded it to TikTok has written 13 over 12 as well. So that, I would assume, is fine. Yeah, a 9 being 65, this is on average, right? So some years it might have been higher than 65. So just be aware of that. This is an average. Maybe a 9 would be like 70, just to be safe. Do you know what I mean? So just take that into consideration, okay? That these are averages. So it could be higher, could be lower. Who knows? Yeah, they've written that they got 5/33. I haven't obviously done the paper myself, I've only just seen it. But the person that uploaded it on TikTok has written their answers, and they put 5/33. So I'm going to assume that's that's the answer then. If you got that, I'm assuming that that's fine. If you got 58 out of 80, I would say you're definitely close to a grade 8. It depends, I keep saying this, but it depends what the grade boundaries are for this year. On average, a grade 8 is 55, so you're basically above the average. So I would say you're probably on the... It depends. If the grade boundaries are higher this year, then you might be on the borderline of a grade 8 or like a really high grade 7, but you're definitely close to an 8, if not an 8, is what I don't know if that makes sense. You've either got an 8 or you're very close, is what I would say. Hang on. What would a 5 be on AQA? I haven't got the AQA grade boundaries, but like I haven't made an average, if that makes sense. So I don't know. We could look it up. See if I can find it. I mean, you'd have to go through every single one. That's the problem. You'd have to go through every single one and find your own average. Question 7A. I'll look it up in a minute. Hang on. Question 7A. That's question 6. Question 7A. You left it unfactorized. Wait, what? You left it in factorized form. They've said simplify that. I think that would be okay. I think they wouldn't mind if it was factorized or not, because they haven't really specified, have they? I think that would be okay. Yeah, I would imagine you'd get the mark for that. On the last question, you got X is 1/6. They've said on their working, they've said 13/12, so I don't know. But as I said, I've not done it myself. When is the next topic? You can see, well, you can't see because I've got my grade boundaries here. My next paper will be on Monday. Monday at 7 o'clock, and it will be June 2023, paper 2, higher, Edexcel, obviously. Let me have a look if I can see it. If you just type in AQA grade boundaries for a specific year, it will tell you. Obviously, you can't find this year yet, but if you can find the previous years, you could have a look and see if there's kind of a rough average. AQA GCSE. I'm going to type it in now. Maths grade boundaries. Oh, there might be something on Maths Genie actually. That's quite good. Okay, actually, if you type into Google, if you literally go on Google and type in AQA GCSE Maths grade boundaries, at least on mine, the first thing that comes up before even AQA is Maths Genie. Hopefully you know that website anyway. And he's just got a list of all of them in all of the years. So higher tier, foundation tier. So actually that's quite good. So hang on, you were asking for a 5, weren't you? Let me see. A 5. Yeah, the AQA ones are really varied. Like all over the place. So I think the lowest is 21. And what's the highest? Last year was the highest, 2024, at 32. So somewhere between 21 and 32, maybe like 25 is an average, I guess. I've not worked it out, but yeah, you can find it on Google if you just search it. It'll be there for a 5. Yeah. The N to 1 question. Which question was that? Let me just see. Oh, question 4. If you mean question 4, this person who's worked it out, I think they put 4.5. Yeah. Yeah, 4.5. That's what this person has put. If I'm looking at the correct question, that was question 4. Yeah. Oh, you got 3. Oh no. Well, maybe some of your method marks were fine. So how many marks is this? That was a 5 marker. So hopefully you got some of the method marks within there anyway. Sometimes you can still get 3 out of 5 without even getting close to the answer, honestly. What was the answer for the last question? Everyone seems to be saying 13 over 12 as a fraction. 13 over 12 for the last question. That's what most people seem to be saying. From what I've heard about the AQA paper, not many people liked it. I would assume someone's going to upload it. Maybe search TikTok, search YouTube. You might find it. The papers. Someone will have uploaded it. Do you think you can base the upcoming grade boundary on recent correlation now that the structure of the paper? I don't know. That's the problem, isn't it? I think... Let's have a look at this. Where's my pen gone? Here. If you have a look, 2023 was almost 10 marks higher than... or 9 marks higher than 2022. That's quite a big... I mean, across three papers, that's like a 3 or 4 mark difference. That's quite a big difference, isn't it? And then come here, then that one was even lower. 2021 November was even... That's November, isn't it? Was even lower. But then it jumps up again. June was quite... Well, the 2019 was quite consistent, I guess. That was fairly consistent, November. But yeah, do you see what I mean? It's like, it's all over the place, isn't it, really? That's why I've got an average. But again, I would probably add 5 onto that average just to be safe. So I don't know. I don't know if I could predict that, to be honest. Oh yeah, iterations would obviously be a calculator question. That couldn't be non-calculator because it's always decimals, isn't it? Iterations is nice, I think. It's quite a nice question. If you know what you're doing, it's quite nice. I think I'm going to go through iterations in one of my videos next week, just because I think it will come up, obviously, as a calculator question. You did question 10. What was... Hang on, what was question 10? Let me see. Question 8, question 9. Oh, the proof one. Prove that the difference in the squares of 2 consecutive numbers, even numbers, is always a multiple. Oh, that's a nice one, that one. If you know that structure of how to do a proof question, that's a nice one. Because sometimes proof is still hard, even if you know the structure, but that one was pretty nice, I think. When people tuned in for AQA, I think at the start of this live, a lot of people said they didn't like it. They thought it was horrendous. So that's what I've heard. I haven't heard many positive things about AQA. If a question comes up on this paper, doesn't mean it doesn't come up again. It depends on the topic, is what I would say. It really depends on the topic. Obviously, I think I said earlier, for example, probability, that will come up probably in all the papers, because they can ask different questions, can't they? Ratio, that's going to come up a million times. That type of thing will come up consistently. Shapes, you know. But if it's something really specific, so for example, you guys for Edexcel, you had the one where you have to draw the tangent on the graph. To create an estimate by drawing a tangent, and when you had to find the area under the graph, that type of question I think is so specific that I would assume, again, we can never say 100%, I would assume that won't come up again. That type of thing. I think the histograms, probably unlikely to come up again. That type of thing. Functions, possibly not again. Algebraic proof, I don't think will come up again. You know, those kind of things that are more specific won't come up again. But the ones that are kind of more general, obviously could be repeated. You know, algebra, shapes, that kind of thing can be obviously repeated, can't it? Inequalities, all of that. trig. So some of these will repeat themselves. I don't know if standard form would come up again. Maybe, maybe not. You know, graphs generally will come up again, won't it? They probably won't ask highest common factor again. It just depends on the question on the topic, I think, as to whether it will come up again. And again, I'm just guessing, so don't take my word for 100% because I obviously don't know. I've not, I don't see the papers before you guys do. Obviously, I don't see them, so yeah. I think paper 2 and paper 3 are quite hard to, well, paper 2 specifically is quite hard to estimate or guess or predict because it's obviously calculated, but so is paper 3. And so I could probably say what topics are going to come up on both of them. Do I know what topics will come up on all of them? Like, as in, do I know which topics will be specifically paper 2, specifically paper 3? No. I would say, obviously, after paper 2, paper 3 is likely to be whatever's left on the syllabus, isn't it? So that one you could probably predict a little bit better. But paper 2 is a bit random. I have been through paper 2 and paper 3 at Edexcel and had a look and kind of made a list of the most common ones, but they are almost 50-50. Do you know what I mean? Like, iteration came up a lot on paper 2, but it also came up on paper 3, so it's going to be hard to predict. I'm going to do my best. It's going to be hard to predict. I will do a predicted paper, but it is going to be hard to predict it, I think, for sure. You got less than 46. No, I don't think that's a fail. That's probably a 6. Depends how you do on the next 2 papers. If you do, obviously, the same or better, hopefully. I don't think you're going to fail. That would be a 6, probably. You got 41 out of 81 and 56 out of 81. Is that correct for the probability? Which question was that? Let me see. Which question number? Just tell me if you remember. Or if it was like end of the paper, start of the paper, just so I've got a rough idea what I'm looking for. Let's see. Oh, it was double proportion as well. They always do that one, honestly. Okay. Just trying to find the probability one. Have I not screenshotted it? It was in the middle. 9 dices. Okay, hang on. Let me have a look. Oh, I'm assuming it was question 14, was it? The person who's worked this out on TikTok says they got for the sum they got 16 out of 26, so I guess you could simplify that to 8 over 13 then. And they got 26 out of 36 for the product, which would also simplify to 13 over 18. So, wait, what did you say? Yeah, no, yeah, I think it's question, what did they say? Question 14. If you go onto TikTok, you just search their handle is Maths Papers 1. I literally just typed in Maths Papers 1, went onto their TikTok, and it was like, you can see, it says June 2025. So you can also have a look on TikTok if you've got it. Don't know if you'll have it to look at, but yeah, you can see. That's what they've put. I mean, I don't know whether that means it's correct. I've not worked through it myself, but I'm assuming that they've obviously got it right. Oh, the algebraic proof one. That one. I think you get 4. Well, it depends what you used, honestly. So everyone might have got a different answer, but as long as you factorized out 4 on the outside of the bracket, and whatever you put in the bracket obviously correlates to whatever you used, but as long as you factorized out 4 at the end, you don't have TikTok. Okay. Let me go back. So I've screenshotted it on my phone, but it'd be good if I could show you guys, wouldn't it? Yeah, 4 brackets 2n plus 1 is probably what I would have got, but it depends what you started off with. Let's see, 28 plus 32, 60 plus 46, 106. On average, 106, if you have a look at this one, would have given you maybe a 6. So I would say you definitely get a 5. So that's a pass. You might have even got a 6. Depends on the grade boundaries, but yeah, I would say that's a pass. For sure. If you got the answer wrong but the working correct, did you expand everything correctly? If you kind of started off with the correct thing and then you expanded it correctly but then just didn't factorize it at the end, I would assume you'd probably get, how many marks was it? Was it 3 marks? I guess it's 3 marks. Yeah, you might have got 2 out of 3 if you expanded it correctly, but if you then just didn't factorize it at the end. But I don't know if you mean that you got it wrong because you got like the whole thing wrong, or if you got it wrong just because you didn't factorize at the end. Oh. For direct and inverse proportion, hold on. Let me find it. So that one was 5 marks. I obviously have not seen what you've written. You should definitely get method marks if you started off by writing out the proportion equations for both correctly. You'd get a mark. If you figured out what k was, you know, when you have to work out the value of k for each of them separately, that would definitely be another mark. Probably even 3 marks at that point, I would assume. And then after that, you have to, once you've got the 2 equations where you've figured out the values of k for both of them, you then just sub one into the other and then put the number in. So I don't know to what point of that you know, that stage of working out, which point you got to. Oh, you got 125 out of 8. Oh, yeah, because they've written the answer as 125. So I'm guessing, I mean, well, you've got part of it, so I'm guessing you probably get some method marks in there somewhere. You weren't way off. Yeah, maybe the final question in foundation was the first question in, or not the first question, but like question 4 or 5 in the higher tier paper, because normally the first few questions of higher tier are the last few questions of foundation. So it could be the same. Yeah, I think you're more likely to find the papers on TikTok than on YouTube. Probably. If you just type in June 2025, it'll probably come up, as in, well, you know, maths, GCSE, Edexcel, blah, blah, blah. All of that will probably come up. I don't know if it lets you send links. I don't know if it lets you. I don't know. If it lets you, then yeah, go for it. I don't know if it does, though. I know someone tried to send a link before and it didn't let them, but you can give it a go. Got between 57 and 65. That's really good. That's, I would say, probably a solid 8. If not, depending on the grade boundaries, maybe a 9. Hang on, let me have a look for the turning point one. Turning point, where is it? Yeah, because they just want you to read it off the graph. It's only 1 mark, isn't it? They just want you to read it off the graph. I don't know. Wait, you had to draw it. Hang on, no, you had to draw it yourself, didn't you? I don't know, because the thing with the turning point being -4 is that the 2 coordinates that you had to plot around that were also -4. So in my head, I would technically know that the turning point would be lower than that. But because you've drawn your own graph, they would normally give you a slight range of values. So I don't know if they would include -4 in that range of values, or if they would say no, because technically it would have to go lower than -4. I think the official exact answer is -4.25. So it's not far off, but they might give you a range, maybe -4.1 to -4.4 or something. So I'm not sure, honestly. I don't think so. If you got 40, can you get a 7 or 8? I think we worked that out, didn't we? Let's say a 7, you'd have to get 50 on each. To get a 7, you'd probably have to get 50 on each of the other 2 papers. Depends how you feel about getting 50. It's not that far off of getting 40, really, is it? If you wanted to get an 8, you'd obviously have to get higher than that. Maybe. Yeah, maybe an 8 would be a lot higher, but a 7 I think you could probably do, for sure. And maybe an 8 if the grade boundaries were nice. What was the answer to the last question? Square root 12/5. Is that a third question, or hang on? Let me see. But the final question, I think people, if you mean like question 17, people will get in 13/12 if you're talking about Edexcel. Yeah. If we found the turning point using the graph instead of completing the square, that's it. What I would suggest for the turning point one is now that I've looked at it, it says 1 mark and there's basically no space. There was no space for working, was there? So what I would have suggested, and actually, how did they word it? What I would have suggested was you had to use the graph, not completing the square. Now, obviously, if you completed the square, you'd still get the answer, right? It would be an accurate answer. But whenever it says write down, it also said write down the coordinates of the turning point. Whenever it says write down, that normally means, it's normally a 1 mark question. It normally means the answer is somewhere in the question already. You just need to find it. You don't need to calculate anything. You just need to look for it. So I would have suggested for that question, they were assuming you were going to read it off the graph. That's what I'm assuming they thought. They wanted you to read it off the graph. Now, if you did do it by completing the square, that's also fine. But there wasn't really enough space to do that. And there wasn't really enough marks. But if you wanted to be safe and you did complete the square, then that's fine. You would have also got the marks. But I think they specifically were... when I read it, it looks like they were saying use the graph. So if you use the graph, I think that's obviously as long as your graph was accurate, that's fine. I would imagine they probably will give a small range of possible values, because obviously you had to draw the graph yourself in part B, didn't you? So I would assume that obviously everyone's graph will be maybe, because it's a curve, slightly different, so they'll probably give a small range of values. Yeah, exactly. There wasn't any working out space. There was only 1 mark. Completing the square would never only be 1 mark. So if you did either, it would be fine, but I would say, yeah, you were meant to use the graph initially. That was kind of the main point, I think, was to use the graph. What grade do I think is 66? Ooh. Yeah, see, that's definitely a solid 8, but it depends on the year if that would be a 9, doesn't it? Because on average, we've got 65 as a 9. So some years that would have been a 9, some years that would have been an 8. So, yeah, because you're on like the grade boundary, I don't know what to say. Definitely an 8, possibly a 9. Just depends on the year. No, you weren't supposed to complete the square. You can complete the square because whenever it says a quadratic equation and it says turning point, those two do go hand in hand. But you weren't supposed to. This was only question 3, right? Question 3, completing the square will never be on question 3. It will always be at the end of the paper. Like the second to the last question, or the third to last question. So you weren't meant to complete the square. You can work it out by completing the square. That is true, but they weren't asking you to complete the square, if that makes sense. So if you read it off the graph, I would have suggested that that was the main method that they were hoping for, especially for being only question 3. You got 70 out of 80. That's quite good, yeah. Because hang on, let's look at this. So 70 would, if you times that by 3, let's say you got 70 on all 3 papers, would be 210. So yeah, that would be a 9 on that one. Yep. I would say 70 is probably a solid 9. Yeah. If you got, I mean, assuming you got 70 on all the papers, right? I would say that was a solid 9. Minus 0.5. I think the minus 0.5 one for x was quite obvious. That one you should have got, so that's fine. You said minus 4.2. I would say that they would accept that because of the fact that you had to draw your own graph, didn't you? I know everyone was drawing the same graph, but technically your curve is not going to be identical to everyone else's. It's going to be close, but it's not going to be identical. So I would probably suggest that 0.42 negative 4.2 would be fine. I would suggest. That would be my interpretation of it. There was one question, it said solve x like this. You can times by 4 or minus 1. I personally would have minused 1 first and then times by 4. If you did times by 4 first, that's fine, but you would have to remember to multiply everything by 4. So the 4 on the left of the equation, obviously the x over 4 would cancel out, and then you'd also have to multiply the 1 by 4. So if you did that, that's fine, and then you could subtract it. If you only multiplied one of the sides by 4, then it would be wrong. So that's why I tend to, if there's anything to plus or minus, I tend to move that out the way first. I don't know if that answers your question. Oh no. The area under the graph question, would I lose marks for getting to 220? Let me have a look at the answer. Let me see. Because it's normally an estimate, isn't it? People might estimate it differently. So I would assume they would have given you a slight range. So the person who's worked it out has said 220. 224 is pretty close. I don't know. Because it's an estimate, isn't it? They said, wait, let me read it. Work out an estimate for the distance. So I would assume, again, this is all me assuming, right? I don't actually know. I'm not actually like an Edexcel exam board like marker, right? I'm just making guesses here. I would assume that they'd give a slight possible range of answers. Now, I don't know if 224 would be within that range. It's pretty close, so maybe there is a chance that that could be within the range, because if you've only read one of the things slightly differently to someone else, I don't know. You were very close though, so maybe, yeah, maybe. Work out the gradient. Was that the one where you had to draw the tangent? The one that was before? Let me see. So, because they would give it, I think for the one where you had to draw a tangent, they would give quite a good range of possible answers because your tangent, even though it's a straight line and it should be at the same point, it's going to be quite different. I think everyone would draw a tangent slightly differently. So I think the range there would be quite good. The person here got 11. You said you got, the one that you saw online got a 10. Someone else got 9. So you see what I mean? Like everyone's going to get 8.5, 8.56 is very specific. That's very niche. Maybe you got 8 as an estimate. Okay. It depends what the range is. There'll definitely be a range of answers. If it's between 8 and 12, for example, then yeah, you would have got it. I don't know what the range is, but I think there's still a chance that could be, yeah, you don't seem to be too far off. Someone got the gradient. It won't be exact, right? Because everyone's tangent will be slightly different. So it's not that there's an official answer. It's just as long as you got within some kind of range, then that's fine. But you had to draw a tangent, right? And then find the gradient of that straight line. Yeah, maybe it'll be kind of between 8 and 12 or something, 10 being the middle one. I don't know, but yeah, it depends how wide their range of possible answers are. Could have a look at a part. You can always look at past paper questions that are similar and see what those mark schemes were to see, like, for example, in this case, how big was the range that they gave on a different question, so therefore how big would this range be? You could always see that. Even if you get the number wrong, I think if you did do the tangent, because obviously they give you a mark for drawing a tangent. So as long as your tangent wasn't completely wrong, then you probably get at least a mark for drawing the tangent, even if your numbers were kind of maybe outside of the range. I don't know. I think the turning point officially was minus 0.5, minus 4.25. But if you've got something, I think the minus 0.5 would probably have to be exact because it's a symmetrical graph for the x one. But for the y coordinate, as long as you've got something similar to minus 4.2, 4.3, 4.5, you've said maybe, yeah. I think there'd be a range for that one as well. You didn't have any tracing paper. Aren't they supposed to give you tracing paper? I thought they were meant to give you tracing paper. I need to go grab my charger, I think. You have to ask for tracing paper. That's annoying. I thought they just put it on your table. But I mean, I say this, I mean, I did it like 10 years ago, so who knows? Oh my god, you had 20 minutes left and you were only... Well, I know, actually, I was thinking question 13 was like almost halfway, but no, there was only 17 questions. But still, I mean, they're quite big marks, aren't they? Did they? They took long to give it... Wow, that's actually really bad. I thought they would just leave everything you needed on your table, do you know what I mean? Are you allowed to bring in your own tracing paper? I don't know. Are you allowed? Maybe that would be worth it. I mean, they probably won't ask it again after this point, but if they did. Loci in construction is quite rare, so it's not on every year. So I don't know. Obviously it could come up. It is quite rare. It's not one of those ones that is guaranteed, that's for sure. Oh, you didn't bring it. Oh no. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know if they'd be able to let you bring it in, even if you can see that it was clear. Like there's nothing written on it, but probably not, right? No, these are average grain boundaries from previous. You can see 2023, 2022, 2021. These are the historical grade boundaries. So you can use it as a prediction if you want. Hang on, guys. Give me a second. I need to grab my charger because otherwise my whole thing's going to die. Give me 1 sec. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why they don't just give it to you. Well, yeah, you could do that. You could just ask for the tracing paper right at the beginning, even if you don't know if you need it, just so that you've got it. But seeing as they've already asked you to use it once, maybe you might not need it again, I don't know. But yeah, maybe ask at the start, just in case. Then you don't have to wait for it. The milk chocolate question. Yeah, I think the answer N was 4.5. The ratio one. The transformations question. Let me have a look at the transformations question. Hang on, I haven't even seen it. For part A, I'm assuming. Yeah, that's quite an odd one, that one. Normally it's not. Rotation 90 degrees anti-clockwise, or you could have said 270 degrees clockwise. About the point -1, that's what this person's put. You could figure it out without the tracing paper. Normally when it's a rotation, I just look at one of the sides. So I probably would have looked at the vertical side on B, or on A, and then the same vertical side, well, the side that went to B, and then seen, oh yeah, that's obviously a 90 degree, you know, rotation. That's probably what I would have done if I didn't have tracing paper. Yeah, 90 degrees anti-clockwise about the point, or the center of rotation, whatever you want to call it, -1, 0. It's not one, you shouldn't measure the angle, it's just because it's not that type of question, if that makes sense. You're supposed to, it'll always be either 90 degrees, probably 180 degrees, it'll always be something like that, it won't be like a random amount, if that makes sense. If you said rotation of 90 degrees, it's a 2-mark question, right? I think from seeing previous mark schemes, I think you have to say what type of transformation it is and at least one piece of information to get 1 mark. So if you just said, wait, you just said rotation 90 degrees. Did you say clockwise or anti-clockwise? Because that might be also, you might also need that. You said 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Did you say rotation as well? Because if you did, then I would assume that's 1 mark. If you missed out the center of rotation, then that would have been the 2nd mark. Or if you said a rotation and then put just the center, that would also be 1 mark. If you only said rotation, I don't think that would be any marks. You have to say something about it. The similar triangle question. It's the one where they're overlapping, isn't it? The one before, I think. Question 8. AC and ADB are straight lines. ED is parallel to CB. Oh yeah, okay. Prove that triangle ABC is similar. When it's similar, you basically just have to prove that they have the same, what was I going to say? The same scale factor, I think. Or what information do we have, though? We've only got 2. You've got 2 sides, you could get a scale factor, but we don't have the other side, do we? Yeah, no, so not using that. No. Okay, how would we do that then? The other way, I guess, you can prove that 2 triangles are similar if you don't have the actual side lengths, the numbers, right? If you don't have the side lengths, is similar triangles will have all 3 of the same angle. Yeah, the same angles, exactly. That's a similar triangle. So obviously they both have a 90 degree angle. They both share the top angle, the angle A at the top, they both share that angle. So if they already have angle A in common, they also have a 90 degree angle in common, then obviously the 3rd angle must also be the same. The thing with side angle side is that's for congruent triangles, not for similar triangles. So no, I don't think so. You wouldn't get that. That's congruent triangles. But it didn't move one up though. The transformation only rotated. It didn't move up or down. It only rotated. So no, I don't think so. Yeah, it looks like the scale factor was 1.5. I guess you had to use that for part B, by the looks of it. How did I do the polygon one? Let me have a look. Which question is the polygon one? Wait. Just trying to find it. It's not the proof one, it's not that rotation one, it's not that one. Oh, question 6. Got it. Okay, let me see. So you've got 4 sides of a regular polygon that we don't know how many sides the actual polygon has. Okay, there's basically just a formula for that one, but it's a formula that you've probably forgotten about. That's the problem. It's one that you might have done in like year 8 or something. So what I would have done is, what do they say? They've got an equilateral triangle and a square. What I would have done is I said obviously the square has a 90-degree angle. An equilateral triangle we should know has 60-degree angles. So those two together, 90 plus 60, what's that, 150 degrees? And then you sub it into a, like, yeah, it's got 12 sides. You sub it into the formula, into the equation for angles in a polygon, and then you just solve that. But yeah, someone's put it in the comments. N minus 2 times 180, and then all of that divided by n is the formula, and then you just put that equal to 150, and then it should, obviously you should get 12. Yeah, I haven't read the ball one yet. I don't know if I can see all of it. That was the probability one, wasn't it? There are 9 balls labelled 1 to 9 in a box. Lee will take at random 2 balls from the box. Oh, okay. Yeah, I would have done a tree probably for this one. Probability tree. You don't have to lay out like that. I think they haven't. The screenshot I've got, they've not done a tree. I probably would have done a tree. Lee says the probability that the sum of the numbers on the 2 balls will be an even number is greater than the probability that the product, this is ridiculous, that the product of the numbers will be an even number. Is he correct? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Actually, that's kind of different, that, isn't it? The probability that the sum of the numbers, it's too many words, the sum of the numbers of the 2 balls will be even. Yeah, I think I would have worked out like how many, like the combinations in terms of how many would create. So how can you add them to make an even number? If you add to make an even, you have to have either 2 odd or 2 even, don't you? So what we're saying is if you imagine a tree, you're picking both odd, both even. You can work at that probability. And then the other one was the product of the numbers will be an even number. So think about, how do I multiply to make an even number? It would have to be even and then even times odd. I would probably have laid it out as a tree myself. That's how I would have done it, but I quite like a probability tree. You might prefer to not do a tree. You don't have to. Yeah, exactly. You just don't do a probability tree in terms of 9 options. Obviously, that would be insane. I mean, make it into 2 branches. So one is for even numbers, one's for odd numbers. And then just think of the combinations. Like, how do I get an even number if I multiply 2 numbers together? It would have to be even times even or even times odd, wouldn't it? And then just follow those branches. Or for the one where they add it, the sum, where they add it, how do I add to make an even number? Both even or both odd, and then you follow those ones. So it's just basically a more complicated probability tree question. It depends. You might prefer not to use a tree. I like to lay things out. I'm quite a visual person. I like to see the tree. But if you prefer to do it a different way, the person that I've seen their screenshot, they've done it a different way. So that's fine. They've not said you have to use a tree. So you don't have to. I just like to do a tree. That's just me though. Everyone obviously works things out differently, so whatever works for you is fine. But just reading it, that's my interpretation. I would have laid out a tree myself. I think there was a question similar to that in one of the past papers, not as hard as that one, but it was something to do with the probability of getting 2 even numbers or something like that. So there is one that's kind of similar in one of the past papers. I don't know which past paper, but it's in one of them. It's a little bit similar. The ratio one, where's that one? The one with the chocolates, I think. Question 4. Always some kind of ratio at the start, isn't there? There are 280 chocolates in a box. There are only dark chocolates, milk. Okay, so there's 3 different types. 1/7 of the 280 are dark. Okay, so you could just, even without reading any more, you could work that out. I'd assume that'd be 1 mark. So that should be 40, shouldn't it? A dark chocolate. The number of milk to the number of white is 1 to 3. The number of white to the number of dark is n to 1. Oh, okay, this is okay. Oh, they're giving you 5 marks. Okay. So work out how many dark chocolates there are, which is 1/7, which is 40. Take that away from 280. So you should have 240 left. Then you share the 240 into the milk and the white, because that's all that's left, isn't it? So then you get 60 milk, 180 white. That's probably already 3 marks anyway, that bit, even if you didn't know what to do after that. So then they've said the number of white chocolate to the number of dark. Okay, so the number of white chocolate was 180. The number of dark chocolate was 40. So you put that in a ratio. That would probably give you 4 marks out of 5. You just then have to make it into n to 1. That's, I guess, the hardest bit. So I think sometimes it's a 5 marker, but it's not. It's just because there's a lot of different steps, not necessarily because it's really hard. I think the answer to the proportion one they've said is 125. I think that's what it says. Let me double check. Like I said, I've only just seen it now. I've not gone through it myself. But the person that's gone through this, they got 125 for the proportion one. Yeah, the recurring decimal I think should have been 5/33, but that was after you simplified it, so you might have got a really big number fraction first, and it might have simplified to 5/33. The paper, I found it on TikTok. You just type in the handle of the person that's uploaded it is MathsPapers1. You just type that in and go onto their channel on TikTok or their whatever their account. You can find, and this is the Edexcel higher tier one, right? That's the one I'm talking about. I don't know about any others, but I'd imagine if you just search it on TikTok or on YouTube, you find it. It depends which part of the question you got wrong, but if you got the method right, you'd get definitely method marks. I just don't know where you went wrong, if that makes sense, as to how many marks you might have got or lost. But definitely should have got some method marks. The answer to the recurring decimal one is 5/33. I think. Well, I've not done it myself, but that's what they've written, so. Can I read the question? Yeah. Yeah, so they've said that x is 0.2 recurring, y is 0.6, and then 8(1) recurring. So not the 6 is not recurring, just the 8(1). So you've got 2 recurring decimals. Work out the value of x, y. So you need to basically, and give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. So you need to convert both of them into fractions separately. And then you just need to multiply them with each other, to multiply them together, and then at the end, simplify that. It's a lot of 5 marks, but I don't think they're like crazy difficult. It's more just that they're long, aren't they? It's just a lot of working out. Sometimes it's 5 marks because it's really hard. Sometimes it's 5 marks because it's just a lot of working out. Predicted paper 2, paper 3 topics. Oh, it's so hard for paper 2 and paper 3. It's so vague, but there are topics that I think will definitely come up for sure. I don't do A-level videos, no, I'm sorry, I just do it at GCSE. 2 marks out of 3 if the fraction is not simple. If you got the correct fraction but you didn't simplify it, I would assume that, yeah, you'd get the 2 out of 3 marks. I would assume that that would be fine, as long as obviously your fraction was also correct. You've got 19 marks on the paper but need a 7. What can you do? Well, so you'll have to get really high marks in the next 2 papers. I think just try and identify what went wrong for you, like why you got 19 and not higher. Was it that you just didn't know the content? Was it like that you need to revise more? Is it because you knew the content, like you knew the maths, but you just didn't maybe know how to answer the questions, in which case you need to practice the past papers? Was it that you just got in there and panicked? Because I know some people in exams, and particularly with maths, they get inside the exams, just start to panic, and then it all goes wrong. In which case you'd need to, for your revision, effectively it's trying to just find coping mechanisms, isn't it? In that case, like breathing techniques, something that will calm you down so that you can perform in the exam. It depends what went wrong. Did you run out of time? You need to practice, pacing yourself through a paper, just constantly checking the clock. I know that's what I did. Keep checking the clock, keep moving on. Don't stop at anything, just keep moving on, and then you can come back at the end if there's things you've missed. If you panicked, was it because it was one of your first exams? Was it because it was the first maths exam and maybe next time you'll feel better? Was it just that you panic generally and every time this happens? Because in which case you need to look up just something that's going to help you. Do you know what I mean? Like whether that's some kind of breathing technique, because you can sit there in the exam and do a breathing technique. You can sit there. Sometimes I recommend if there's like a scent that you find relaxing, like, and put it on the cuff of your blazer or on your wrist or something so you can smell it in the exam. Just something to get you in the right headspace, isn't it? Because it's such a shame if you can't do it just because you're, so stressed in the exam. Yeah, you would need very high marks to get a 7, but I don't want you to feel, because if there's too much pressure, then you're not going to perform. You didn't know what was on the paper. The thing is, the papers are quite not consistent, but to some extent, paper 1, you can almost see what topics will be on there. Like a lot of the topics I predicted would be on it were on it. So it's being strategic about your revision, isn't it? Be really strategic about your revision. Practice as many papers as you can. For paper 2, paper 3, make sure you practice both paper 2 and paper 3, because obviously they're a mixture of topics. It's not guaranteed what will be on paper 2 versus on paper 3, if that makes sense. They're a random mix, so you'd have to practice both. If you then find that when you mark your papers you're coming up with the same answers that were wrong, the same topics, then maybe revise those topics more specifically, Will the grade boundaries be high? I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you what will happen with the grade boundaries. I have no idea. You have 3 weeks, yeah. 3 weeks, I think. It depends how much revision you're going to do of other subjects as well. I know you have a lot of other subjects, but if you're going to decide this is really important, then you can spend, prioritize this one. Prioritize maths, I mean, in terms of your time. Yeah, don't give up. There's still so much time to make a difference, I promise you that. Just be really strategic and do as many past papers as you can, is what I would say, and mark them as well so you can see the mark scheme. So on the chocolate question, you did 1/7 of 280, yeah, which should be 40. Took that away from 280, which is 240, yep. I think, and then I put that into a ratio. Yeah, so yeah, the 240 should split into a ratio. I think it was like 60 to 180. And then from there, you just take the two, like the white chocolate and the dark chocolate, and put it together into another ratio. The maximum mark for a 4. We could look at historical ones. So this is the individual ones here are for the whole paper, right? The whole 3 papers. So obviously when I say 47, I don't mean out of 80. I mean out of 240. So that was 47. That one was lower. Let's see. This one was 52 out of 240. Anything higher than that? No. The highest one, I don't know about last year. I haven't seen last year, right? But the highest one historically has been 52 out of 240. So if you divide that by 3, is that 17 or 18, I think? 18 out of 20. 18 out of 20. 18 out of 80 was the highest in the previous exam grade boundaries. So let's say, even if you said 25, I think that would be a safe bet. 25 would probably be a very, very safe bet. Yeah, if you can be consistent across all 3 papers, then that's perfect. You guessed for histogram. What days are my lives? Move this out of the way. Here. My lives are Mondays at 7 o'clock, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 o'clock. Those are past papers. I normally do kind of a general drop-in session, like a Q&A session on a Sunday at 4:30 for like an hour. I might do some before the past paper, so maybe Monday at like 5 o'clock, Wednesday at 5 o'clock, just if you've got a very specific question that you want to ask. But the general ones, the actual past paper ones, are always Monday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 o'clock for obviously higher tier. Yep, higher tier Edexcel past papers. Yeah, we're going to start again next week. I was not going to do it today because I feel like you've just done your exam. You don't need to do another one tonight. So I'm going to start from next week. You see the dates here? So you can join whenever you want. If you can't make it to the lives, they will, like once I've done the live, it will upload itself just onto my channel anyway. So you can watch them afterwards as well if you want. You got 160 out of 160 in his last mock. That I don't think you and I would like get 100%. I'd definitely make some kind of stupid mistake if I was doing it. 100%. That's crazy. IGCSE Edexcel Maths. Yeah, I have a student who does IGCSE actually. It's very similar to normal Edexcel. You just have, I think you have a few extra topics that I personally would class as A-level. So like, I think you have differentiation. Can't remember what else. You have other topics that go beyond the normal syllabus. But otherwise, the questions in terms of the topics that are shared between Edexcel Normal and Edexcel IGCSE are the same. The questions are very similar. So I think that's quite good. What I would recommend for IGCSE is do your IGCSE papers, and if you can, for paper 2, well, you've only got one more paper, haven't you? Actually, it's only 2 papers. For paper 2, just go and, well, whatever you did today on paper 1, check what's left on the syllabus, because you've only got one more paper left, haven't you? Check what's left on the syllabus, focus on that maybe, do as many past papers as you can, and just see if you can find patterns, because I think Edexcel is quite good with their patterns. You can see, oh, this one always comes up, or this one, not necessarily on paper 2, but just generally. They'll always ask this question. If they didn't ask it in paper 1, they're probably going to ask it in paper 2. Do you know what I mean? But it's very similar to normal Edexcel. You've just got a slightly bigger syllabus, I think. You got 13 out of 40 on histograms. Hang on, sorry, let me have a look. Histograms. Where was that? Yeah, question 15. The other person has put 9 out of 40. Whether, I mean, again, whether theirs is correct or not, I don't know, but I've not read it myself, but I'm assuming. It says between 20 and 40, so you get the 2 bars that are 20 and 40. They got 9 out of 40. I don't know if everyone else got that or what everyone else got. Did they change it to 13 out of 40? Okay. Perfect. So yeah, that'd be fine then. Yeah, I'm gonna go through it myself and like work through it myself, see what I get as well. If you're aiming for a 6, you still have a chance. What was a 6? A 6 is about, let's say 110 out of 240. You got 26. Divide that by 2. I would suggest if you can try and get 45 on both of the other papers, roughly 45, I think you'd be safe. If you can get 50, you'd be even more safe. Do you know what I mean? Circle theorem. I think circle theorems will always come up. If it didn't come up in paper 1, I would assume it's going to come up in one of the other 2. I don't know which one, but I would assume there's a very good chance it will come up. Yeah. Do you want me to go through it in a video? I don't know if, I mean, it's just going to get taken down, isn't it? I think yeah, they're going to just take it down, I think, so that's why I've not done it, but that's why I screenshotted all the other ones that she posted, because I think she'll end up deleting it at some point. So probably not. I think talking through it now is not so bad, but probably uploading it is going to get taken down. Yeah, it sounds like everyone got 13 out of 40 for the histogram question. Sounds like it. It's because the paper that you guys did today and all the papers you're going to do will be the official mock papers for next year, for like the year 10s that go into year 11 next year. So they will do all of these papers in December time for their mocks. So obviously they don't want them to be available online for them to see it. But I think your grade boundary should be lower. I don't know. Because it depends also on the other 2 papers. The grade boundaries are always based on all 3 papers. It's not based on just one. It's always based on like an average for all 3. So I honestly couldn't tell you. Yeah, I would say it's pretty much almost 100% chance circle theorems will come up next. Whether paper 2 or paper 3, I don't know. One of those papers will definitely be circle theorems, for sure. It's one of those questions they're always going to ask, isn't it? Somehow. I think you can also assume that cumulative frequency will come up as well, because it hasn't come up yet. I don't do A-level streams, no, I'm sorry, just GCSE. I wouldn't plan to. I don't think I'd be very good at explaining A-level. A-level was such a huge jump, so I don't think I would. I think I'd be questioning it the same as you guys. Alternate segment theorem. Quite likely. I feel like they like to throw that one in, don't they? Because it's technically the harder one, but if you understand it, it's fine. Yeah, there's always someone who will upload it now, and if those year 10s are paying attention, they'll save it. But I don't see the point, because you might as well go into year 11 and do your mocks and see what your accurate, like an accurate representation. There's no point kind of cheating, I don't think, because like this ultimately it's not helping anyone, is it? If you cheat on your mock, because then you don't actually know what you're likely to get. You didn't get any nth term questions. Yeah, I guess that could probably come up. Whether it'll be linear or whether it'll be a quadratic, I don't know. That could come up. 234 out of 240 was a 9. Yeah, I guess they had to adjust it, didn't they? That's crazy. Alright guys, well, I'm going to leave the live here. If it went really well, I'm so happy for you. If you didn't feel like it went well, please don't worry. You've still got 2 more papers to do. We can still bring it back, okay? So don't worry. I've got, as you can see, the lives will be next week and obviously every week. I'll also be uploading more videos that are relating now, going forward, to paper 2 and paper 3 calculator ones. So keep an eye out for those. But otherwise, really well done for getting through today. I know it was obviously really hard getting through a maths paper, the first one. But hopefully it can only get better from here. We've got time to revise for the next ones and just make sure the next ones do, even better. So thanks for joining the live, guys, and let me know how it went. And I'll see you in my next one, which will be probably on Sunday at 4:30.